Thank you so much for joining us for another edition of All Angles. I'm Dion Jackson Miller, and welcome to our viewers on onespotmedia.com. Remember as well to tweet along with us. Our hashtag is TVJ All Angles. Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton has been defending his decision not to accept a recommendation by the technical team of the Health Ministry to evacuate the Cornwall Regional Hospital in Montego Bay within 10 days. That recommendation was made last year, February. It followed years of complaints by staff members in the building about health problems, complaints which worsened significantly in or about September 2016. Earlier this week, the Chief Medical Officer and the Health Minister spoke at a press briefing.
Now, Stachybotrys penicillium and Aspergillus species are known to produce toxins. Spores of Stachybotrys species were not detected in the air in the areas that were investigated. Aspergillus penicillium were detected on the 4th and the 5th floor, but aside from the recovery room, all the levels were lower than the external average.
There is a sentiment being expressed out there, erroneously so, inaccurately so, that the management and the ministry kept persons in an environment that placed them at risk, and we willingly did it, and we were negligent as a consequence. And I just want to say that that is not the case.
And we are, for this edition of All Angles, devoting the program to hearing the stories of people who work in the building, in the Cornwall Regional Hospital, the health workers themselves. We start with 3 nurses who felt it was time to speak out.
I'm asthmatic, and so I can remember just having frequent asthma attacks. I don't remember before that having such frequent attacks, but then I remember in 2012 I started having attacks after attacks, and then started having syncopes, which were unexplained, and I guess things have spiraled from there.
I don't know that word. What's that?
Blackout spells.
Okay. How bad were those, and what would happen?
How bad? I'm not sure if I'm able to say how bad, but I can remember like within a month I would probably have like 3, 4, 5 asthma attacks, and then maybe black out 3 or 4 times before the month is through.
So when you black out, what would happen? Would you collapse, or would you faint, or what?
Well, only who was there could speak to that. So. But I believe
unconscious. She didn't know exactly what was happening to her, so she would have to be rushed off probably to emergency room and be nebulized and get oxygenated, and then she will recover.
So you saw one or more than one of these episodes?
Well, not to the early stage, but in the latter stage, I have seen her being hospitalized in severe condition where she had actually had to be resuscitated. Her. More than once we thought she had died. Yes, hats off to the doctors and nurses who actually worked with her, and in several occasions had to run to her rescue. She has got several episodes of blackouts, comatose, for want of a better term.
You're calling a code, having to do CPR on her. She
jump
has
in her
been
chest.
to death's door and back. Yes.
I'm almost without words listening to all of you, because when you speak of resuscitation, you mean she had stopped breathing?
She has stopped breathing on more than one occasion, and we had to call in an emergency. I thought you went to ICU at one time? No. But she had severe hospitalization, severe episode where she had to be resuscitated.
You've seen those as well, nurse?
Well, I've heard of it, and then we ran to where she was, and then she was admitted on the ward where she did had seizures. They had to be resuscitating her because when persons from the building came to visit her, it affected her severely. Some of them she can't recall because she was unconscious.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying just somebody coming to visit her who would have...
From the hospital building, because even if persons from the building come towards some of us, it affects us. We itch, or eyes burn, or nasal cavity burns. We have rashes. tightness to the chest, because those things are on your clothes.
So at which point now did you or anyone start to make the link between the building and what you were going through?
Like I said before, I cannot speak to what I don't know. I can only speak to what I've experienced. And I can't point fingers to say, oh, this is what is causing it or that is what is causing it. What I do know is that what I've experienced is nothing that I've experienced before. I can't say that I've had any issues before that would have contributed to what I experienced being in the hospital. But since approximately maybe 2 years ago is when things got really severe. But through prayer and encouragements from my bishop, I must applaud my bishop, Bishop Dr. Robert Coates, yes. But through much counseling and prayer and encouragements, I was able to overcome. Yes, the doctors did what they could, but at some point I believe that there was probably nothing more they could do because nobody could explain what was happening. I don't think they actually came up with a diagnosis per se, but based on the symptoms, because I've been affected by severe allergy, and I think from that everything else came.
And did you find that when you were away from the building that your symptoms, or if you stayed away from work for a period of time, that you would find symptoms lessening?
Well, I did not take note of that to begin with. However, after several admissions and being on sick leave, I realized when I was at home, I got better. But then as soon as I went back to work, I got sick again. So that's when I started thinking that maybe what is happening to me has to do with the building.
What about you two? Have either of you been affected?
Yes, I've been affected. It started in 2016 after being reassigned to the emergency unit. I was sent home 3 different times on 3 different antibiotics because I had a lower and upper respiratory tract infection. I had severe shortness of breath. I also had to be hospitalized because I was by a relative and because I wasn't feeling well and I was really scared because I'm a single mother and I don't want to be ill with my son. And they had to carry me to a medical center because I was having severe shortness of breath and this headache that would not go away. So yes, it has, because my skin is evidence to that. As well as I have had to do a minor procedure to remove cyst that has been in the skins on my face, on other parts of my body. So yes, I have been severely affected.
Yeah, I have been severely affected. And as it is presently, I'm worried. And I don't know where I stand as it is. I remember it was way back in 2014. I've had like 2 fainting spells, 2 episodes where I actually fainted on the ward. I had to be rushed to emergency, to be wheeled off the ward in wheelchair and taken to the emergency room. Been treated, nebulized, asked on several occasions, do you have asthma problem? I said no, I've never been diagnosed with asthma. I started getting itching on my skin, my nose was burning, and I started having tightness of the chest. I've done several CT scans, and I remember in 2016 I ended up in National Chest Hospital. They did all the bronchial investigations that could have been done for me, and until now I'm still having a problem with my chest.
How bad now?
How bad? I have to be nebulized occasionally. Because I was actually on my way then to ER, and right now I have to be sleeping on like 2 pillows. I've had an open lung biopsy. just to find out what was happening there. They actually now discovered that there are like scars on my lungs. I don't know what's going to happen to me later, and I'm very worried about it.
Meaning about your long-term health? What happens?
Long-term health, yes. I'm worried about my long-term health because I don't know where I'm heading for. I don't know, is there any compensation? Other persons I know are suffering likewise. There are individuals who actually fainted, who were on the ward, have to be removed, relocated. They're having rashes on the skin, burning, tightness of the chest every now and again.
Cardiac issues.
Yes, having heart problems, seizures, and we just don't know. But for me, I'm really ill right now. I know that.
Tell me why you say that.
I've been to the pulmonologist. I've done an open lung biopsy. I've done a bronchial wash. I've done all the tests that is possible. I've been diagnosed with fibrosis of the lung.
Tell us what that is.
All right, fibrosis of the lung really is, as she has spoken about the scarring of it. So what happens is, because of the continuous, whatever it is, the lower respiratory tract infection that has happened, it has put the lungs through trauma. So it is not as recalable as it is, as you know, the alveoli, as it is with breathing and everything. So that particular area of the lung, whether it be all lobes or a particular lobe, cannot function as it usually does. Recoiling, not as it used to be. It's rather stiff. So
that sounds like that affects breathing, then your ability to breathe.
Yes, it does, because it is your lung. That is the respiratory system that aids in respiration.
Are you saying you also have that issue?
I have that issue. I have that issue also, to a particular lobe. I don't remember which lobe. And that was because of all of what was happening, because I had upper and lower respiratory tract infection,